yeah. As Tall Paul just said, let's fire it way up, baby. Welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. It is me, I, you, and his, her, neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, and promoter, 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Prime Tommy Reeb. And I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, as always, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. And Paul, here we are on the platform of platform in the show of shows.
That's it, man. It was, oh man, I'm one of those people, man. I generally try to hold my tongue, try to be respectful, look at the glass half full type of mentality, but there is just, and I don't know, man, today is the 10-year anniversary of my dad passing away, and my dad would embarrass the shit out of me sometimes because he just had no filter. You know, as he got older, there would just be times that I'd be like, Dad, you can't fucking say that. You know, just whatever it is. And I feel like for the most part, I have a pretty good filter. You know, like I generally think about what I'm going to say before I say it. But man, I was leaving work today, and someone was just stopped. You know, like we're in a parking lot. We're like, it's a lane of travel, and they're just stopped there. And I'm just like, you know, first thing is always like, is there something wrong with this person, right? Are they having a fucking medical episode or what's going on, right? So, you know, so I'm like, all right, they're not moving. So I like slowly go around, and it's just some lady, and she's just on her phone. It's like, this is the spot where you think is a good place to get directions and of where you're going, right? And you know, I'm from California. People say, you know, the California drivers, these fucking California people, all this stuff. You know, just happened that this person had a California license plate, and it was just one of those deals that I just had to say, hey, get your head out of your ass. You know, like I just didn't know what was going on. And then I proceed to drive to the stoplight, and there's another person, also California license plate, and it's like they've got their left-hand turn signal on, but they're in the straight lane, and the light is green. And I'm just like, dude, what is going on right now? It is just, I don't know, man. Just one of those days where you're just like, you know, these people are just, and I don't know what it is, but it's just, you know, I told you on the way over here, it's the participation trophy generation, right? Their parents never you know, told them that you know, you got to work hard at whatever you're doing if you want to accomplish anything. It was just like, hey, you tried your best, you know, great job, you know, just give them a pat on the back. And you know, it's just like, you know, I think about my parenting right now. It's like, you know, I'm constantly telling my daughters like, hey, you got to put in, you know, if you want to play in college, if you have aspirations to play beyond where you're playing, you need to be putting in a lot more work than you are, you know? So, yeah, and maybe I'm an asshole for doing that.
Hey, no, the teacher never swatted him with the fucking yardstick and called the parent and said, hey, I beat the shit out of Zach with that yardstick today. And they said, well, what did he do? And they said, go hit him a couple more times. You know, there's a couple things I like to yell at people going down the road. When people are riding on their bike, I like to yell, I wish I was that bike seat. Yo, wish I was that bike seat. When I see people with their mouth over the Dr. Pepper or whatever going, I like to go, I wish my dick was that Dr. Pepper. That's one of the things I like to yell. And I also like when someone makes a terrible mistake or their lights out and they're driving too fast and I pull like a tail light and I pull up. I like to go like this, like, and then weep and drive away, or also pull up at a stoplight next to somebody and honk the horn and then turn around like Somebody behind me is the one honking the horn, but there's nobody behind me to watch the confusion on this individual's face go, "You, it's you doing this." You can't fix stupid, man. You just can't fix stupid. And I'm surprised a lot of people are alive, man. And it goes for the wrestling business too. I'm surprised a lot of people are alive in the wrestling business, man. But you know what? You can't knock me off of my pedestal. You can't take the high out of Zach Reeb's high. So much to talk about. You know, I set the short-term goal, right? I said 990. I said, I'm going to put 990 in that convention center. You were there. And we did high 500, right? We did high 500. We didn't quite hit 6. But I felt the change of the guard, man, from the fans to the way it was booked to leading them into intermission to the Rumble fries, to selling out of Rumble fries, to setting records at the door and setting records at the concession stand, and just building a 1-hour Rumble that just set up the stories and all these things. It was like 2 separate Rumbles. It's been a long time coming that everything came together. You know what I mean? And we've been waiting to tell these stories. And it's the thing we talked about with your company. It's the thing that anybody who talks to me about anything or any advice on pro wrestling. And it's just keep establishing these characters, right? Just keep telling us who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. But the thing I wanted to talk about today, besides all that, because I'm not going to sit here on this broadcast and jerk myself off and toot my own horn, because I've already done plenty of that in the privacy of my own bathroom with the door unlocked, just in case my father or somebody else just happens to walk in, so I can continue to do what I'm doing and look at them and be like, you gonna close the door or are you gonna watch me, right? Like, I'm gonna make you feel uncomfortable. But one thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, coming off of this show and then watching where yours is going, heading into WrestleMania, consistency. Give us some consistency out there. You know, I was thinking about this. It's 50-50 booking is not going to get anybody anywhere. And I don't mean once you've established a character, if you can, and I don't mean rivalries and trilogies or whatever, best of sevens. What I'm not talking about the 50-50 booking there. I'm talking about if you're running a wrestling show and you are just trying to field a wrestling show for the night. That sucks. And I'm sorry for you. I would stop doing it right now. If you need that high, if you need that energy, if you need that ego and bravado to say you ran a wrestling show and you found 14 guys to put 6 or 7 matches together, I would quit doing this right now, because you're never going to make any money doing that. And that is the bottom line, because Stone Cold Steve Austin fucking said so, right? But what I mean by this, and I want to lead you into this, you take an East Bay Pro, right? They're there every single weekend. And even though they're under the same, you know, the same doors, the same venue every single weekend, that's the perfect place for what I'm about to talk about, the consistency. Let's give Zach Reeb of 4 or 5 months of consistent, easy to follow wins. Let's give Big Paul 4 or 5 months of easy to follow, consistent wins. Let's actually show our audience, our consumer, let's show our fan base that's supporting our business that this guy consistent. Let's introduce somebody to somebody. Let's find out who this person is. Oh, a string of victories? That's crazy. Why would we do that? Why would we bring a guy in for 5 straight months and let him get convincing victories and do interviews and promos and get himself over? Why would we do that when we can just put this guy in a compact? So coming off of this show and seeing this amazing show that you've got coming up on paper, and me knowing where everything's going, what is your thought to tell these people out there about being consistent with any aspect of professional wrestling?
Well, I think it's super important. I mean, obviously, you've been talking about how important it is and how great it would be to have that consistency of, talking about a couple characters being consistent. But I also like the long, for me, it's like that's what I grew up on, was the long-term storytelling, right? That something went from, a WrestleMania to a WrestleMania, or maybe even further down the road than that, that you're telling a story about these two guys are going to collide at some point. And, the example that you're giving of, you've got two different characters, maybe they're not even involved with each other at all, but, they're both getting wins. And then at some point you're going to say, okay, this guy's got 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever wins in a row. This guy also has that same type of thing. It's like, now it's a good matchup to have these two guys wrestle each other. You think about, sports like boxing or UFC, and where you're climbing the ranks, right? You guys are in the same quote unquote division. And, for us, it's just pro wrestler, but you have these two guys and they're on the same type of trajectory. And then it's like, okay, well, who's the better of these two guys that are, getting consistent wins, so I think that's super important. So, in our case for our products, it's been a couple different storylines going forward of, where you're trying to tell the audience this, regardless if it's a simplistic story or if it's a little more in depth, you're trying to get across to them what exactly is going on. And I think it's like the perfect storm was this guy reaching out to me and saying, hey, this, it's the guy that's making the posters. Hey, I was thinking about, the reason that I'm doing this with the poster, like the next poster being having some green in it. It's like, because I feel like it's RWF versus PCW. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I can see why you would say that, because, for this coming show, very much like, 3 PCW guys against 3 RWF guys. In theory, Illumide maybe isn't the RWF guy, but that was the picture that this guy had in his head of what he's been watching and what it meant to him, so it's like, okay, yeah, I can understand that. And if somebody said, oh, it's Paul Isadora versus Primetime, if it's Illumide versus Bad News, if it's Jeffrey Excellence, some sort of it involving any of those characters, and that story being told that people are following along with and going, hey, I want this guy to kick this guy's ass. I just think it's one of those deals where you walk into the show, and if you've been following the product, you already kind of know what's going on. You're excited to see certain matches, certain rivalries. But at the same time, I think we kind of do the same thing with the show itself, right? Something, Ugly talked about how we started it off with kind of promos and stuff like that, and some talking and setting stuff up for that particular show that night, just in case you happen to be, this is your first time. So you also kind of feel like there's a story being told and there's some sort of culmination at the end where you can follow along, whether it's just this 2 hours or you've been following along for weeks or months or years.
Well, it's you look at it the way that was set up, the way we did it. We talked about it on a podcast in the past, and if you want to know what we thought about that, how about you subscribe and go on back and watch that one and look it up. Catch yourself up to speed on what we're doing out here. I couldn't agree anymore. Speaking of Big Ugly, I was down there and he came up to me and asked me to cut a promo at the Ugly Dojo SPW Frenemies show. And I thought he just wanted me to come out and cut a promo. I didn't really realize at the time that he wanted to do something like pull apart and stuff like that. And Bad News was going out to do it. And he didn't know I was coming out there. And I came out there and I just thought it was so cool as the heel, because he said, I thought a promoter was coming out here to challenge me to a match, but I didn't realize it was just a bitch. And then the crowd started chanting at me, calling me a bitch. And then Ugly said, but I respect you, Zach, because I'm one of the 3 people that watch your podcast religiously. And he didn't know I was coming out there. And I wanted to give kudos and props, man, to on the fly, off the cuff, burns, man. Burn me down. I love it, man. Those are my favorite moments right there. I'm not even going to retaliate when 100 people are calling me a bitch. I think it's classic, man. But one thing I wanted to talk about in this is, like Jesse Garcia came back, right? And it was one of those situations as I'm leading into this next thing. And I hope a lot of people post, and I hope Ugly reposts on his thoughts on it too. But Jesse sold tickets, but he envisioned what his comeback was going to be like, right? And I knew going in that he was going to selling tickets and people remembered him. He was going to get a pop at the 30 spot. I knew he was going to get a pop, but I didn't think it was going to be the pop, right? And then I knew when he won, he was going to get a good pop, but I didn't think it, and this isn't cockiness, but I didn't think it elicited main eventing Extreme Measures 27 and getting a title shot or winning the belt there. I didn't think it was there yet. And then I came out at number 31, entrant number 31, and I knew when we were done doing what we were doing that he was going to be the baby face, which he was, which the audience was chanting for him. And they were chanting for Sparky. Not only created the biggest woman's baby face in the first half of the Rumble with that mega pop that we shut down right away, but we established the main event returning babyface player for the future. And then we got the officials over. Now, the officials now are just as important as any performer on the show. Sparky Ballard and Chico Lopez, they're chanting his name. They know the officials hold 90 more power than even the executive producer of Pro Championship Wrestling. They know that the senior official and the referees hold the power of matchmaking in their hands. And it was storytelling, man. And it was the first show since we've established this stuff that we really threw it all out there to lead people somewhere else. And I feel like through patience, through time, through not listening to anybody else, just sticking to what me and the team being on the same page all the way around, I feel like we are now at the point where we can pick and choose where we escalate, where we end, where we start, where we do these stories at. We have so many different options to do, and the fans absolutely love the show. And I remember telling you, I was saying, this is the show. I've been saying it on social media for a while and like little brief, stories and little posts with myself where I say, everything changes tonight. And I meant that because I knew that all the work and everything that we had put in, this is where all the stories started. They all started, right? Like nothing has escalated yet. Nothing has culminated yet. There's just been little nuggets thrown in here and there. So I just want to also talk about the importance of the villain, right? A good villain. The importance of the good villain is if you're a good villain, which we do need bad guys and good guys in wrestling, 100%. But if you are a good villain, you can make a great baby face. A good enough villain, a good enough antagonist can create a baby face. And it's no knock on Garcia, man, because he's off and running now. But the truth of the matter is, I already knew in that booking that it's been a while since he was there. So I knew he wasn't going to get that pop that he wanted. And I knew he wasn't going to get the big reaction he wanted when he won. But by the end of the night, he's where he needed to be as the baby face of the company. And that's because we followed through with what we were doing. We didn't just go, okay, here's your return. You're winning. Now you're going on to face the champion. Because then he wouldn't have got as over. It took the right villain. It took the right situation. And it took something that the audience could relate to say, hey, man, you just bent this poor guy over and you didn't even spit on your hands. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's important that the fans have a story to follow along with. And, you talk about having a good villain and you can think about so many over the course of wrestling that people just hated, as soon as they saw them, as soon as they come out of the curtain. You think about the role that Sergio plays, right? And it was just, you would see it throughout the Rumble there, right? That somebody would get eliminated and then he would go back to the microphone and the fans would be booing and just the anticipation, of what he was going to say. And, they just hate the guy and things like that. So, and I thought it was awesome that when we were in Carson City, that he's like, well, I can't believe they reacted to my music. It's like, well, we've been establishing this, of what's happening when that music hits. Like, the fans know what to expect. They know who's coming out. They know they don't want to hear you talk. They want to try to boo you out of the building, but just, I don't know, just a real pro when you have the ability to get that heat and then get what you need to say out there to create some more heat. And just, I don't know, it was just obviously it was just magic watching all that stuff happen. So you think about those type of people that are those villains that create those reactions, right? Because then you would think in whatever sense it was, whoever comes out of the curtain next is going to be a baby face, right? They're going to want to see this guy get his ass kicked. So it is a quick way to get some people over. So I don't know. It was just a good way to get some people some opportunities and telling the story throughout the Rumble. So, and obviously we try to do that here as well.
Yeah, what you doing? Because you just said it, that you guys don't have a screen down there playing a logo or an entrance video or anything. When the wrestler's music it comes on now, the audience now knows who the wrestler is, which is the tall tale sign that they're following the character. The fans are coming back, and the consistency of that character is starting to get over when they know the fucking theme of them. Masterful job by Boyce LeGrand, The Unwanted, and Annabelle Sky. And the culmination of when Red Hot Ramon threw Boyce out and the place went crazy, and then Maple double lined finally those guys over and the place went just through the roof. Someone asked me, I said, do you know how long that pop would have lasted? And they said, well, how long? I said, until the next competitor came out. You know what I mean? And if you would have sent the people home with that pop and Maple winning right there, why come back? Because it's over. She's just done everything. There's no point. And my big thing about it all, when I look back at it, was, man, I've always been like, I do not think that the women should compete with the men, right? Like, that's the way I was trained. That's the way I came up in the business. It's not that I don't think women aren't great, and I don't think there's a spot for them out there. but I have completely changed my mind and biasly towards one female, and that's Maple Gramps, because I believe it. I believe her. I believe her, and there could be others out there, but right now I believe her after watching her for 32 minutes and not just lay in a corner and sit there and milk it and mail it in, you know. And so many great things came out of this that can go towards everything else, like that spot you had with Shaq in the Rumble, you know. I told him, I said, you didn't step over the top rope when you came in, but Paul did, right? And there was that little spot with you and Sergio. But so you didn't give the audience that illusion. And then you see 6'10" with 6'4", 6'5", and when you get above 6'3", 6'4", that just becomes a very large man, and the matchup of it. But it was that stuff right there just in the middle, because the ending thing was great when you got over the top and shook his hand, and a pop from Reno when he eliminated him. That was the ending, with the face-off, and the ending was great. And I remember hearing someone say, well, I don't think Rick was like, maybe not the guy, right? Maybe not the guy. But then you go to class the next day, a long night, everything like that, and Shaq is in the building, and he comes right up to you and says, hey, coach, I apologize about that poor performance, man. I'm a rookie. I misunderstood what was going on. And I said, well, you know what? I said, you're here the next day, and you know what you did wrong, and you're ready to work on it. So I did a drill the whole class for like an hour, where the two people, he went with bad news, where they turn around and they snap the rope and they walk up to each other into the middle of the ring, and we start exchanging and selling in the ring. So it was like, okay, you're here, you made a mistake, you want to get better, let's focus on this, and let's focus on this with everybody. Because what I was trying to tell him is, when two big guys walk up and go eye to eye, face to face, it's never I'm going to duck something or you're going to run off the rope with momentum. It's, no, we're two big guys here, and we're going to exchange some unpleasantries to see who's going to win this fucking meat slapping matchup right here. So I just thought it was so cool that something that could have really sent somebody, a young man, in the wrong direction, actually made him even hungrier to come to class the next day, say, hey, I know I fucked up and I'm ready to work. And it's just one of those things, because we're not used to seeing a lot of size in independent wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, if you get one big guy, you're like, whoa, that's one big guy. But there's a lot of size in PCW right now, with you and Bad News and Jalen and Shaq and just there's a lot of big guys in there. So there needs to be some exchange. And I felt like he tried to duck and take off the ropes, and it's like, nah, man, stay right in front of this big guy and throw some leather back at each other. So just so much came off of this, and we got so many people coming down to the Boomtown show. I'm running on a high, man. We got a show. It's nonstop. I was looking at the schedule, and then I'll shut the fuck up because I'm just excited. I told you I had a lot to talk about, but I was looking at the schedule. So like on the 20th, even though we got stuff before, it's like we're doing the show in West Sac with Ugly, and then we got to be in a vehicle. We train on Thursday. We got that show Friday, and then we got to be in a vehicle, and we got to head to Urington. And then we got to come all the way back from Urington and train on Sunday. And then the next weekend, we got training on Thursday. We got Limelight on Friday. And then we got to be in a vehicle to head all the way to Winnemucca. And then we're going to turn around and leave that long drive from Winnemucca and probably drive through the night and into the morning just to get to class at 9, 10 o'clock to start doing that. And then we're going to have to do a podcast. So just so much going on, man. If I can stress anything to anybody, guys, get a notepad. Paul Heyman was just talking about it, man. I'm not worried about this year's WrestleMania. I'm worried about Saudi Mania. We need to, if we can book ahead a year, then we can do what you do in pro wrestling, and we can book backwards, and the shows that we're coming up to are going to make a lot more sense. Don't just book for the next show. If you're booking for the next show, you're not going to be able to button up a show. You're not going to have a good hook. You're not going to have something to catch people's interest going forward, because you don't know where you're going beyond the next event. How are you going to run a company that's going to generate new audiences and word of mouth and lure people in if you have no clue as the promoter, the owner, where the fuck you're going? Okay, I'm done.
Good stuff. Well, I think all of this really triggers something else that I came across this last week, right? And that's, you're talking about you're essentially taking notes on what is going on, so you know what we're going to work on in training or things like that. And my daughter just got done with high school basketball season, and there's somebody that trains basketball players at her high school that used to play there, and and I was under the impression, this guy's good, and somebody's like, oh, I'm not sure if this guy knows what he's doing, and I said, well, I'll find out. Right. So my first question was, hey, are you, you're working with this high level girl, right? Who's a really good player. And he goes, yes, I am, like the exclamation points. And I said, just like I would ask about any pro wrestler, what are the holes in your game? What are the things that you need to work on? What are you doing to get better? Right. Just like anytime we evaluate someone's match, we're giving people feedback on things. Hey, your punches here you need to work on these punches. You need to whatever, right? It's in an effort to go, hey, what are you focused on coaching? If I have somebody that just wrestled a show for me, I'm going to critique them, and then the next time I'm in the ring with them, or have an opportunity to, do something before a show or talk to them or whatever, it's going to be, hey, this is what I noticed that you need to work on. Here's what you need help with. And I think, you're a perfect example of things that happen on a show. And then the next day at training on a Sunday, it's, hey, we're working on that. Right. It's the standoff, it's the throwing punches, it's the blocking punches, it's whatever thing issue potentially was came up at the last event, right? So in my mind, it's like, hey, so what are the holes in this girl's game? And his response was, we'll go back to the lab and we'll figure it out. And it's like, that seems vague, right? That seems to me like you don't know what we're going to be doing, and it just related directly to this topic, which was, I'm observing and I'm taking notes either on a notepad or I'm taking mental notes of the next time we're in the gym, this is what we're getting better at, and I almost think, this kind of goes back to the very beginning of this when I was telling you about the 20-somethings that are just, I'm just going to use this, the things that are popular in culture, right? Going back to the lab, right, is the thing. It's like, you hear that with a lot of high level athletes. Oh, we're going to go back to the lab and we're going to do this. And it's just a phrase, and it's like, you don't know what that means unless you're like, we're going to go back and watch tape and go, hey, this is what we need to work on. But I'm just like, over the course of, we just finished the basketball season. Over the course of the season, you should be going, man, this is what this person needs to work on. They need to get better at this particular skill or this set of skills or whatever, I'm doing the same for my daughters. It's like, hey, here's the things that I think you need to work on over this summer, right? There's not going to, if somebody said, hey, what does your daughter need to work on this summer? There's not going to be any, I'm not sure. There's not going to be, let me figure it out. There's not going to be any verbiage like that. It is going to be exact stuff. Hey, we're going to work on this. We're going to work on this. We're going to work on this. These are the 3 holes, weaknesses that we're going to fix this summer, you know? So when it was like that, when it was like, oh, you know, we're basically there wasn't an exact answer. I was like, okay, maybe you're not as good as I think you are. But maybe you've got people fooled, you know, maybe you have people thinking, oh, this guy knows what he's doing because you're in the gym doing drills, but maybe the drills don't particularly pertain to the things you need to get better at, right? And maybe that's why there are holes in your game, because you haven't been finding those holes and fixing those things. So I don't know, like I think about all types of things like that when it comes to pro wrestling. You know, it's like if your punches suck, then that's something that you need to work on. You know, if your selling sucks, that's something that you need to work on. And that shouldn't be like, let me figure it out. That should be, hey, I just watched your match and I just critiqued it, and here's what I think you need to work on. So
get on back in the lab.
It's just
back to the lab again. Well, you know, I was watching my kids, not my kid, but my nephews. He just moved up into like farmer majors, and he's playing baseball, right? He's actually looking really good. But one thing that the coaches are working on is they've got 3 different areas going on the field. And I started observing this, and my brother goes, hey, you know, these are really good coaches. And I go, okay, let me check it out. And they're hitting that ball to first base so the first baseman can turn that 1-6 or that 1-4-3 double play. Like they're hitting it to they're getting the kids to learn how to turn the body the wrong way, because the double play where it's going this way, left to right to first, you're throwing ahead of the runner, in front of the runner. The other way, when they're going to second or they're going to third and it's on the right side, you're throwing the runners in front of you. And then they're doing the thing where they line like 6 kids up, and it's you're here, throw your hands up. They throw the ball, you turn this way and catch it, so you're already there. The relay, right? And they're doing all, and then they got this bat that's it's like a slinky bat, but it's got the barrel on the end of it, and they got to control the slinky bat to get the barrel around off the tee. And I'm just watching. I've watched a couple practices now, and I'm like, these guys are great coaches. And then I'll look over and see some other coaches, and I'm like, these guys are terrible coaches, right? And one thing I've always noticed is, like, you know, I just ran into a situation where, you know, the kid I introduced you to at the show, and that's kind of how we do it. I go, hey man, come here. I'm like, this is Big Paul. I go, kid's an amazing wrestler, and I walk away. That's my job. My job as your friend and someone that you trust and I trust you is to say, hey man, see this kid right here? You got to book this kid. He's young, he's hungry. He'll be here. He'll ref if you need him to. But this is, and I gave my introduction and I walked away. But in talking to him, it was like, this kid's a shooter, man. This kid's great. And where he's at, they don't want him to wrestle. And then when asked, like, how are you, you know, what suplexes do you know? And they say, well, we're not ready to, I'm not ready to throw them yet. And I'm like, well, you've been wrestling, like, just in this instance, I'm never going to show this kid how to amateur wrestle, right? I'm not going to, 18 years doing it since 8. I'm not going to show somebody like that how to do that. I'm going to be able to show them how to mix that in with some pro chain in getting to the next step. And suplex, German suplex, gut wrench suplex, belly to belly, all these redrops, all these suplex throws that they do in real freestyle and amateur wrestling. Buddy, can you show me how to do that? Can you imagine having Rick Luxury, as a young kid, wrestling for 10, 12 years in high school, doing Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling, and he comes to class and you go, you're not ready to throw a German yet. When you're ready, I'll show you. I can throw a pro German. It looks pretty good, but I don't. And I don't throw gut wrench. I can throw a gut wrench, but I don't. I can throw belly to belly and overhead belly to belly, but I don't. I might throw a belly to back or a suplex, hip toss. I take more backdrops than I throw. I know how to do them all, but I cannot show a 15 to 20 year amateur freestyle mixed martial. I'm not going to show a mixed martial artist who's been doing it for a long time how to throw a proper leg kick to the thigh. He's going to show me. Do you think I've ever out-wrestled Rick Luxury in the ring on a show in 27 years? Fuck no. I found a way to stop him. I found a way to get away or to get some momentum off the rope, but I don't out-wrestle Rick. You know what else I don't do? I don't out-suplex Rick. Ethan Reno, I've taught him a lot. I've taught him everything. But you know what I don't teach him? How to fucking amateur wrestle. Because I don't know how to amateur wrestle like he amateur wrestles. I can amateur wrestle with him if he lets me switch and do all this. You know, Tim Thatcher would have snapped me like a twig in submission. But if he lets me, I'm good enough after all these years that I can hang around with him. But I'm not. I can't show him any submission that he doesn't already know. I can't show him a pressure point or manipulation on I can't show him how to do that. So what really bothers me about some coaching is a lot of people just don't even think about the basis of what they're coaching. You know what I mean? It's like, can you backflip? No, you can't. Okay, well, you might as well go find a trampoline or something to practice, because I can't teach you how to backflip. I cannot teach you how to backflip. I know how to backflip. I can tell you jump the fuck up and turn, do it, but you're going to have to be able to do it. So it just sparked that when you're talking about observing and coaching and going back. Everything is so formulaic. And somebody can only teach you what they know, right? Because if they don't know it, then they can't show it to you. And if you end up with somebody in any sport or entertainment or anything that knows something that you don't know, that is better at something than you are, if this guy can wrestle on the mat and he's really good at it, and you're not, let him show students some drills and stuff how to wrestle on the mat. If this guy can fucking throw a German suplex against your will, he's probably better at throwing a suplex than you are. You know what I mean? So I find it so funny that you said that, because there's so many people that think, hey, this is it. I remember when Shoop came back to training one time, and everything had changed. And he's like, well, this is how you taught us. I said, yeah, fucking 7 years ago. Shit, I changed this from last week because I went to the lab and improved it. So, yeah, man, that's 100% when I was watching, and it's every week, right? We're watching this stuff every week, and we're getting better and better and better at it and seeing things for what it is even more, man.
Right. Well, and I think that's the benefit of watching pro wrestling, with the guys here at NorCal, right? Is that you're going to see good and bad, right? You're going to see things that, hey, here, I can help you fix this, or you're going to see things that you go, hey, can you show me what you did there? Or why did you do this there? And because there's definitely going to be people that go, hey, I think about things a little bit differently than you do, right? The way that I envision this happening, maybe a different way than you do, right? I think about just the way that you get out of a headlock or the way that you shoot a guy off. getting out of the headlock, some of the things that you use and the reasons that you use them, I think are beneficial things that I've learned. And now I'm looking at all these, where people are posting their training stuff online, and I say, well, you wouldn't realistically be able to shoot a guy out of a headlock if you haven't done anything to loosen that guy's grip, right? I watched this whole series from some wrestling school that they were doing, and it's like, hey, that's awesome that you choreographed this whole fucking a minute and a half sequence, but at the very beginning of that, there's no way that this guy gets out of your side headlock without pulling your hands apart or 2-on-1 or anything, right? How is this guy going to loosen your grip by just walking you back to the rope, and somehow you're going to now let go of him? After he just used this, well, he just used the headlock to take you over. It's like, so now he was able to manipulate your body and take you over in a headlock takeover, but somehow he's not able to hold on tight enough where you're just going to walk him backwards to the rope and you're going to push him off and he's going to let go of the headlock. So I don't know, like I see things and I love to hear the reasoning behind why people are doing certain things. And I think that's what's missing in some wrestling schools, right? It's you're just going through sequences and you're not going, hey, this is why it makes sense, for the fans to go, oh, he got out of this hold because he did this, whatever it is, weakening a body part, weakening a grip, creating some sort of misdirection, whatever it is, you're creating leverage or whatever the scenario calls for. And I think it's just a cool thing that we're able to watch wrestling on a weekly basis and see different things and why people do things. And obviously it's cool to see, Ugly trains things a certain way. You train things a certain way. Oliver John's got his way. I do things differently. But, obviously a lot of the basics are the same, but I just love hearing about the reasoning we're doing certain things. And I don't know. And obviously trying to coach with, telling my reasoning behind certain things and listening to yours and Ugly and Oliver John, all these different people, telling you why they're doing things. And obviously it's always, you always have to be a sponge and you always have to be ready to learn something new. And like I've always said in the past, it's, be an open book, man. Listen to everything and take what you can from different people and implement it into what you're doing. Because obviously not everything you say is going to work for someone, and not everything that I say isn't going to work for people, because my perspective just with my size is going to be quite a bit different than other people.
Okay, let's case in point this right here. Prove a point. The international spot. What's the international spot? Because half these guys are just going to go, international spot. And you're like, I'm going to go, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, tell me what it is if you're calling it in the ring, but they don't call it in the ring. So Paul, tell me right now, because I'm going to ask you something. You're going to tell me, and then I'm going to ask you another question and a case in point in this. So just right now, tell me what is the formulaic international spot.
I would just say lock up, headlock, shoot them off, tackle, drop down, hip toss, or a leapfrog, hip toss, or body slam, whatever you want to add in there at the end. But something where someone is taking a couple of bumps in a row, and normally I think that's going to end with somebody powdering out.
Well, here's the thing. It can't be any other option but tackle, drop down, leapfrog, drop kick, because it's the AJ Styles spot, right? And it can't just be, well, maybe a couple body slams, because then you would have to call all that. You couldn't just say international spot. The international spot is something specific that everybody's supposed to know, right? Because it's international. So you were right. Say it one more time. What is the international spot? You're going to love this. What's the international spot?
Headlock, tackle, drop down, leapfrog. I like hip toss, body slam. You like drop kick, but
okay, hip toss. We'll stick with hip toss.
Yep.
We'll stick with hip toss. Tackle, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, right? So here's the international spot. That's what everybody knows. Throwing back body drop, but we're going hip toss right here. Okay, so to get a tackle, what must we first do?
Somebody has to be running at you.
No, what you have to have what hold on somebody to for the tackle to even operate?
I guess you have to have the headlock.
You could have the arm, you could have all kinds of things, but it's the international spot, so it's set up for the headlock, right? Yep. So the problem with the hold is they're expecting you to go lock up, grab the hold, shoot me off, walk me back to the fucking rope, escort me, gallop, shoot me, take me. You know what I mean? So nobody is working lock up and shucking off and grabbing and blocking. There's no thought whatsoever into the struggle. Shit, I hit you with the knee, clinch you, pull you back in. Now there's a takeover. Nobody's even thinking about the millions of things that you can do to lead up to controlling the headlock to where the guy has to shoot you off the rope. Okay? So the next thing that happens after you grab a fucking headlock right out of the lockup and back the guy off the rope and shoot him off is he hits you with what?
Tackle.
A tackle, which we've talked verbatim about. The tackle is the most man knocking another man, or a woman knocking another woman, or a woman knocking a man. Overpowering them and knocking them off their feet on their ass is the most King Kong bravado thing you can do, right? What the fuck do I just go taking running off the ropes for? I just knocked you on your back. So I should cover you, right? I could cover you. You could kick out. I could pick you up, throw you in a headlock, and then you could shoot me off the rope, and then I could do a leapfrog and a drop kick. The problem with the move is there's so much more we can do with the international spot that these lazy, unfully trained motherfuckers are just like, enough, no spot. Okay, cool. We all should know that, right? I don't want to know that. Fuck you. I don't want to know that. I want you to know how to actually block and counter and earn the headlock. I want you to know how to rise the fuck up or do something on the mat so we can come up, rise up, tackle. Call that down there. Boom. I nail you with the tackle finally. I cover you. You kick out. As I'm picking you up, I grab you. I take you back over. When we're on the mat, I say, drop down, leapfrog, drop kick. And we come up and we're working some more. And then you fire me off again. And this time, instead of taking the tackle, I do what you would do if you already took the tackle. That's when I drop down. And then as you run over the top of me because I dropped down from your tackle, then this guy's back up to his feet and he's jumping up in the air to drop kick you, but you duck underneath and run through and your momentum comes off the rope and now I drop kick you. And we could break this down. We could get ugly on here. We could get off. Fuck, I'd love to have Ollie on here for a whole segment on this fucking thing. That's why it's so stupid. There's so much that goes into this spot, and people just go, oh, we'll do international spot. For what? Just a filler? Transition? You want to kill the headlock? You want to kill the tackle? You don't want to cover the guy when he's on his back to show the fans that you're trying to win a match? Then you could pick him back up, and you can do drop down, leapfrog, drop kick. You know why the drop down? I just told you why the fucking drop down works after you take a tackle. The leapfrog also works instead of a drop down when they're coming off the rope because they're going to tackle you again. So they're leaning in. You can jump over them. and get their momentum coming off the rope. Oh, sorry, I said drop kick. You told me hip toss. Even more perfect. And guess what? We could counter through the hip toss and hit a hip toss and slide through a backslide and come up and hit it. There's so much we can do. But people just go, 5 minutes remaining in this podcast. What do you want to do tonight, Paul? Oh, no. I'm a little international spot. Could you imagine being on the mat with somebody, one of these modern guys, and they go, you're down there and you're working, and they're like, they're not listening to and you're not listening to the crowd. I didn't even fucking point that out. But they're just like, okay, man, international spot. And I'm like, no. And they're like, what? Tackle, drop down. And you're like, we're on the mat right now. You're just, how are you going to tackle me while we're both in the mat in a headlock? Rise up. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys, you got to learn. How are you in a craft that you don't know your craft? Do you think that fucking Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, fucking Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan, you think Barry Bonds just walked up there and was like, look, everybody, I'll just hit home runs. Look at me. I just win championships. How do you play the game of basketball? Who knows? Who knows? I seen Michael Jordan fading away like this. So I went out and I just did this a bunch of times. And now I'm in the NBA winning rings after rings after rings. Motherfuckers, I challenge everybody out there. I don't care if you like me. I don't care what you think about me. It doesn't matter after I've been doing it this long. Think of this stupid international spot, or just think of when you're even fucking locking up. And how about you learn the history of what the fuck you're doing? How about you understand why you're throwing the tackle, why you're doing the drop down, why the arm drag works when you're grabbing the collar because you're trying to grab a clinch, why when you hit the fucking corner buckle, it fucking hurts your back. Why don't you learn sorry, man. Why would somebody step into a profession that they are not interested in learning about the profession? Can you throw a curveball? I seen someone throw it. Of course I can. They grab it like this, and they go like this. Yeah, try it. You're going to throw that 90 feet across the plate from this mound? No, because you got to practice it. And you have to understand the way the ball's rotating and where you have to snap your fucking wrist. Isn't it dumb, though, when you think about what I just said right there? Like, I want to get into pro wrestling, but I don't want to understand what pro wrestling is. I just want to be a pro wrestler. That's retarded, right? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life when I say it back. Right,
exactly. Oh, quite the tangent there. I guess we're going to see what type of stuff goes on this weekend. We got some international spots going down.
I'm calling it out in the locker room. I'm saying if anybody does an international spot, if they have that planned in their match, I want you to come up to me and tell me why you're doing it. I want to know why you're doing it. Hey, I want to be a rapper. Well, you don't have a tongue. You don't have a tongue. I want to be the world. Well, write down what you want to be. I want to be a better rapper than Eminem. Oh, you can't speak. Like you really can't talk, but that's your dream? Okay, cool. Yeah, you can do it. No problem. It's just like, just learn your craft, man. Jesus H. What's the H stand for in Jesus H Christ? Holy?
Maybe, I don't know.
We got to look that up. Harvey? Old Harvey Weinstein? I don't know, man. I'm excited about everything that's going on, but I'll tell you this much. When I'm training my guys, I'm trying to educate them on how you counter the waist lock, why you're rolling them up. How would you really kick out of this hold? If I really grabbed you, that's one thing I told Ollie is I'm like, well, what are we going to do next training down there this Saturday? before we head down to Boomtown. I said, we should just grab him in a fucking headlock and take him over and not let go. And see what he loved it. It's like, let's see what they really do at this point when you're just grinding on them and they're like, oh, I'm gonna roll you up. No, you're not. You're not going to roll me up while I'm putting fucking all my weight on you, squeezing on your head. You probably should have thought about blocking or defending this headlock before you thought about, hey, look at me. Now let's get up to our feet for no fucking reason with momentum. Crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Like I feel like just like looking at you at the end of this broadcast and just being like,
just shake your head.
That's how I don't even want to work this weekend. I don't want to work. I just want to come out and I want to sit right next to the ring in my wrestling gear too and just watch matches and go. Like, the fuck is he doing? Oh, he's critiquing our match. What'd you think of my match? What'd you think of it? Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, not even talking to someone like, well, what do I need to work on? Oh, yeah. Well, how was my match? What do you think? Was it good? What do you think? Which one? Which one? Boom! 2 thumbs down, motherfucker. Get back to the locker room. Talk to you later. All right. Well, Paul, I thought this was really informative. And I challenge, here it is. We went a little extra because we're gonna. I challenge anybody out there to make some sense of why you would just grab a headlock out of nowhere, escort them back to the ropes, gallop them 9 feet to the center, shoot them off, eat a tackle, run sideways off the ropes, drop down like the Statue of fucking Liberty, run over the top of somebody, hit a beautiful leapfrog, and then turn around and hit a hip toss on somebody. So without any detail in the middle, tell me why in God's name you would do that. For Zack Primetime Reeb and the Wrecking Ball Paul Isadora, hit that subscribe button. And great show last weekend. Big Joe, thanks for the house.
The ongoing running joke.